Hey folks, Patreon patron Be the Noise suggested Model 15 as this month's Let's Play, and I've been putting this off. Like, seriously, this is such a dense app that I've always had kind of an insecurity about not being able to fully feature it. I love Moog synths. Like, seriously, my Minotaur back here is like one of my most prized possessions. I love Animoog. I really want to do this thing justice, but it is so dense. I'm worried that it'd take like an hour to do the whole thing. So I'm just going to try to focus on some of my favorite features. So let's get started. This is a modular, but it's not as complicated as a lot of modulars because it's got a finite number of modules. You can't keep adding more and more modules. You've got what they give you, and they give you a whole bunch. So you need to make your whole signal path. So let's do that. I'm going to start off with the mega voltage controlled oscillator here, and I'm going to take the output of the rectangle, and if I let's throw this in the mixer because I know I'm going to be throwing in a lot of other things, and just take that mixer output and plug that into the signal input for a voltage controlled amplifier. So that's the VCA. And so now we're still not hearing anything, but right now I am routing this oscillator into a mixer into the VCA, and now I'm going to be controlling the VCA with a envelope generator. So when I hit it now, oh, whoops, that's right. Now I am actually controlling that, but you're not hearing it because I need to now take the output into the trunk lines, which are our 2-bus output here. And now we're hearing things. So there's so many challenges in showing this. Just, I hope to Christ any part of this is making sense. So this right here is our envelope, and it's a little weird. This is your attack. And this is the release, I think. I'm pretty sure. Or, oh, no. It's that's the decay. That's okay. So it's ADRS instead of ADSR. So this is the release. Yay. And let me get rid of that. And this is the sustain. If I bring down the sustain, and it's so hard to see anything because you got the spaghetti noodles over here, but you can see that little thing there that I'm moving this down. If I move that down now, and I've got my release set to 0, we're going to be able to hear this decay. Bring the sustain all the way down. You hear how fast that's coming out. You can bring it up. All right, so enough screwing around with that. Let's keep this moving because there's a lot I want to show you. The you've got 3 different oscillators. Okay, these 2 on the left are relatively simple, but this one in the center here has got all kinds of different things that you can control, including an auxiliary output that gives you a whole bunch of different options of different waves. So let's combine the outputs here. If I take this and put this into my mixer, we're now listening to the rectangle and whatever this auxiliary is. So that's not that impressive, but it gets good because now we can shape the level of the oscillators independently. We can also do that with the mixer, but it's nice to do it right here in this one spot where we can really tweak it and say, okay, yeah, I want it there, and I want it there. Actually, I want it back there. And now I'm going to take our output, and instead of just taking it straight into the envelope, I want to throw it into this elaborate filter bank. So this is a fixed filter bank as opposed to this voltage-controlled low-pass filter. So with this is a more typical kind of filter that you'll see in every other synth where you can control it with these inputs. But in this case, we don't have that control. We just have a whole bank of filters that we can shape and tune and do interesting stuff with, which I shall. So the left number here is the cutoff. And you can see the frequencies that we're shaping here. So this is 2000 and up. As I bring it all down, you're not hearing anything, but we can bring it all in just using this generic low pass. We're getting a really low hum. And now what I'm actually wanting to do with this is to play around with the second knob, which is giving us some of the... Oh, here, I'll show you. So, see, this is 250, 500, 1000, 2000. Over here, we've got 350, 700. And now, if I bring up these... We've got the warmth of that low pass, and then this kind of weird upper frequency comb thing that I'm doing. By cutting it way down at 250, 500, 1000, and 2000, it's dropped all the way down. But on all these other ones, I've got it brought up a little bit. So it's letting just this fine selection of frequencies through. So it's kind of like a comb. And that sounds pretty good, but we can make this sound a little bit more interesting by throwing in a delay. Just got to give it some time. I was like, what the hell's going on here? Okay. Right, that's a pretty good kind of base place for us to start doing the really weird stuff. Okay, so I'm starting off. This is normal. This is good, kind of interesting patch there. But now we're going to get weird with it. On these other oscillators, they both have a control over here. This let me move this out of the way so you can read that. Oscillator driver. This whole thing over here is controlling both of these two. So let me bring in one of these so you can hear it independently. And this one I'm going to throw into the regular filter. Take that out to here. Now's a good time for me to show you multipliers. So I wish there were actually more multipliers. I'm taking this output from the envelope, and over here I'm sticking it into this multiple. And now this input is being split into these three equally. So I can take that now, put it back over as the input on the VCA over here. And I can take that now and make it the input on the second VCA. So you should still hear the first one sounding like it used to sound. Yay. All right. Now I'm going to take the second one here and plug this in. I thought that was going to sound better than it did. Let's stop doing that stereo. Let's throw that over here. I'm trying to think of how to do this. You're actually quite limited in how you can use the utilities. I mean, there's just a very small number of utilities. There's only this one main mixer. There's a lot of other things that you can kind of use as mixers, like these amplifiers and stuff like that. So I'm looking for a way to shape these independently. Let me try taking these amplifiers and the output of this. What's up here? Yeah, let's take the output of that. And we'll stick all that into the trunk line. All right, now both... Okay, that worked out. We're getting both sets of oscillators now in stereo, because when I put one into the 2-channel, it decided that I was trying to split them as 2 different monos. So now, with that out of the way, get back to being weird. So you can hear now what the second oscillator is sounding like, and I can tune out the first using this. So I've got it kind of low, but oh, you know what? I've got this in this filter. Let me. All right. Now, this is what I've been trying to get to. All right, here we go. We've got this frequency driver. So it's like an extra layer of control on top of the range selector here. And this is going to be handy for what I'm going to be doing with this first oscillator, which is setting it into low mode. So you see we've got the classic style of denoting octaves through feet. So 2 feet, 4 feet, 8 feet. These are the sizes of organ pipes. So 32 feet is like a really, really, really bassy thing. And low puts it into the sub-audible range pretty much. And like here, I'll throw that here. That's what that sounds like. You don't want to use that as an audio source, but you do want to use that as a control signal. So I'm going to be using the sine output of this one to control the rectangle width of this one. And I want you to be able to hear how that's working, which is why I did the whole thing with this second oscillator. So you can hear, oops, God damn it. You can hear how this is going to be affecting that. So it's basically just really bringing that super low. Okay, that's a slow thing. So let me actually bring up this one and fuck, I've forgotten which one was which. Just take out this one altogether. So now we're listening once again to the main oscillator here. I gotta stop double tapping it. It keeps zooming in. All right, so you can hear the weirdness. And we can further shape this down like this. So what I'm trying to accomplish here is we're taking this rectangle output and we're screwing around with the duty cycle or pulse width of that rectangle. And we can further screw around with it with this knob. So now we're getting these really interesting tones. Like if you go the other way, you get more brittle tones. I love these lower, darker, fully saturated tones. All right, we're still not getting weird yet, which is kind of surprising for me, but we're probably going to get there now because I want to take our low frequency oscillator that we've got here and plug this over here, which is another multiple. And now we'll put that back up as our control voltage for the rectangle width, which is our pulse width modulator. So that's all sounding the same. Now I can take that same output and make it a modulator for the sawtooth. So now let's bring in the sawtooth again. And I will mix down the first two. Now, I had it way down in this low octave range just to show that off. I want to bring this now up into something more usable. So that's the AC modulate, and this is the DC modulate. So it's like frequency modulation, but it's weird. Because we're talking about it instead of in terms of frequency, we're talking about it as actual electrical signals. So that's a really weird way of thinking about it, but that's this kind of classic style. So this is what really, really classic analog FM would be. And we'll be able to hear how that changes things when I screw around with the range selector for the first oscillator. Oh, you know what? I got an idea. I'm going to repatch some things here because I've got an idea for what I want to do with this second envelope generator, and I'm going to need this. I think I'm going to need that voltage controlled amplifier because I'm now going to use it as a. Oh wait, no, never mind. I got a easier solution than repatching a whole bunch of shit. So I'm going to take my mult here. We're going to take this low frequency version of the oscillator. And I got it coming out over here and up to here. I'm going to take that now and stick this up into this attenuator, which is basically like a amplifier, or you can go up and down with this. So I'm going to take that down and stick that back up into the DC modulate, and it should be. Oh damn! Hold on. Okay. Was it the DC or AC that I liked? Shit, hold on. I gotta turn off Wi-Fi because it's about to give me a pop-up. God damn it. Alright. I'm usually pretty good about turning off Wi-Fi on these things. Alright. So. We're back to where I was at, but now we've got this thing that controls how weird the weird knob gets. Like that's gonna be really handy here. So now let me bring in the first oscillators again to. Oh, that's a little odd. All right, so what I want to do with this is I've got a control for this. So let's control it. I'm going to take the output of this second envelope generator, and this is normal to the keyboards. Like you don't have to give the envelope generator an input like you would in a lot of other modular apps. So this is immediately going to start working. Where I want it to bring in the weird. So it's kind of working. It's not quite what I had in mind, but let me see if I can shape this now with the filter to give me a little bit more interesting sound here. I'm going to crank up the frequency range here to the highest part of this low-pass filter. And bringing in the regeneration, which is the resonance. there I know I just crossed over into the weird land where I like what I'm hearing, but you're probably not liking what I'm hearing. It's a weird thing with synthesis. Well, you're the guy doing this. You think that this is the most amazing thing you've ever heard in your life. But I know that can't possibly be something that everybody else is enjoying. So I'm going to try to shape that now into something that I think everybody else will enjoy. Holy shit, that amuses me so much. I think the reason a lot of synthesists get into that headspace is we're so used to creating sounds that anytime we hear a new sound, we're like, oh my God, it's a new sound. This is amazing. It doesn't matter how it sounds. It's a new sound. All right, I'll stop playing with that. There was a weird sort of vibration in that I'm trying to capture at a lower frequency that's not going to be that high-pitched self-oscillation. So up here it's self-oscillating. As I bring it down, we're still getting a little bit of that wobble that I'm looking for. All right, I want to throw in some more weirdness. It's been calmed down now. So I'm gonna throw in the that LFO that we created over here. I'm gonna throw that now into the time for the delay. Never mind, we're gonna throw that into the feedback of the delay. All right. So now that I've got that, like I managed to tune. Sorry, I did not explain what I was doing very well there. I got the delay tuned at a point where the time is long enough that that sort of cycling of the oscillator sounds pretty good with itself. Like it's got that feedback that's coming in and wobbling, and it's coming in at a time that fits a nice phase. So with that, it's very G, and that's fun. But I want to tweak that a little bit more. I did a little bit to the filter to kind of accentuate things, but I'm not happy with where that's at right now. So I'm thinking about changing the oscillator type of this second oscillator that we're screwing around with. So let me try making this a rectangle and see what happens. And we can modulate the width on this as well using this control over here. That's not giving me what I'm looking for. I'm looking now at all of my modulation sources and seeing if there's one I want to try tweaking here. Just going to go back to screwing around with the different oscillator types and see if I find something I like. I'm going to have to admit defeat there. I like what's going on, but I cannot make that sound reasonable. Sometimes you just get to that point where you have to admit, okay, I screwed up and I got to go back a few spots and try to figure it out from there. I could stop this video and like re-record this and pretend like I didn't fuck up, but I fucked up, and I feel like it's worth showing off that happens. So yeah, this is part of the sound design process. Sometimes you hit a roadblock and you gotta take a few steps back and figure it out from there. So I'm gonna call it a video. I hope Beat the Noise enjoyed this one, and if you would like to suggest a video, become a patron, and I will be happy to do any apps that you're suggesting. And honestly, it really does help me a tremendous amount to have people, if you're enjoying this, supporting this. It's really a great, like, in addition to being a financial contributor to my well-being, it's a great thing for my emotional well-being to know that you guys actually care about this stuff and you're not just like clicking this and you're watching me in between a whole bunch of cat videos. So thank you very much to all the Patreon patrons that make these videos possible. Take it easy, folks.